Darin Henley here, SSZ, the Southern Soul Zone, and I'm hanging out here in Charlotte, North Carolina with none other, the one, the only, folks, Jimmy 100% Sterling. How are you, sir?
Glad to be here, Darin.
Good to, you just flew in here. You've been here like, what, hour and a half? You just made it to town.
Well, not even that long, I don't think.
Not even from New Orleans.
Well, actually, yeah, I flew in from New Orleans, but I'm in Jeanneret, Louisiana.
And you've been in San Bernardino, California for quite a while. And then a lot of things happening right now we're going to talk about coming up in the show. Been signed to CDS Records, Southern Soul label. Things are sort of popping for you out there, Jimmy. I'm telling you, and it's all happened, what, within the last year and a half almost.
Flew by.
That things have happened. Well, we're going to start out to let folks know on SSZ, just to give us a little brief synopsis, how did you get started in the entertainment business? I know you hail from Detroit.
That's where it all started. I was in local band, Total Capacity, I think it was the group. We played a lot of like local bar gigs.
Right.
Wound up getting hooked up with Edwin Starr over at Motown. And this is when he was big. Jimmy Ruffin, Carl Carlton.
Everlasting Love.
Yeah, and my greatest memory of all of that was meeting David Ruffin.
And you met him somewhat, what I read about you, through Jimmy Ruffin, his brother.
I was a backup musician for Jimmy. We rehearsed over in David's house downstairs in his basement.
What was that like, man? Temptations, David Ruffin, meeting all those folks. What was that like? I know he was somewhat influential in getting you into this, and sort of, I hear a lot of folks say this now with the CDS thing happening in Southern Soul, that your vocal stylings are a lot like David Ruffin. Did you develop that through?
Man, I studied David from A to Z. That was my idol. And when I got to meet him, I mean, that just took me over the edge, man. Yeah, I guess where I got my vocal stylings from. I sang songs that David forgot that he recorded. I loved his style, period.
Right, imagine. He was an awesome vocal talent there. And I know, listening to you and the songs that are out there, that you've got out there right now that I've heard, you're really resemblance and vocal-wise to David like that. Well, I tell you, a lot of things have happened. I know you got to Detroit and all that happened for you there. And then folks who will know in the Carolina Beach music world, which we do on the radio show some with the Carolina Beach Music and Southern Soul, you hooked up with General Johnson and the chairman of the board.
Yeah.
Now, how did that come about?
I was working around Detroit. Danny Woods was actually with, he and General were working at that time as chairman of the board. Met Danny Woods. He introduced me to the group. I toured in the Carolinas with Danny and General for, maybe 6-7 years straight.
Well, I know you're on the first album that's out there down Success. Yeah. You're the drummer on what, Carolina Girls and on the Beach?
Success, Summer Love.
So all the hits, early hits of the chairman of the board here in the Carolina
39,
Beach.
21, 46, all of that. Yeah.
Incredible, man. I tell you, what a career you've had. Chairman of the board, and how many years were you with them?
Close to anywhere between, I think, 6 or 7 years.
Well, and then from the chairman of the board, you made your way to Studio City, California.
Right.
Now, man, what a change. You're from Detroit, you're into Carolinas, and now California, man. A whole thing. And meet up with Art Stewart out there, who, if folks don't know, is the producer for Marvin Gaye and did Gotta Give It Up.
Yeah.
And he signed you to Americom. I believe that's right. And you had some song you put out back in the day. They had the 12-inch, one song lasts 6 minutes.
12
minutes. It was the dance days, man, when everybody's dancing.
Disco.
What songs were those that were on that? Because I know one song that's being re-released and we're going to get to was on there.
At Least I Tried. And the flip side of At Least I Tried was a song called I'm All Right in a World Gone Crazy. Then we had another 12-inch came out after that, entitled It's Gonna Take Time, which me and my good friend Ken Knox, chairman of the board, we wrote that together.
Which, by the way, we've got Ken coming up in this interview, folks. We're going to take a commercial break here coming up momentarily. We've got Ken coming back with us. And, I've learned some stories today I've been listening, and I can't wait to bring some of this up in the interview when we get Ken in here with us. But anyway, Art Stewart, then after Art Stewart did At Least I Tried with you and several other songs on there, which, by the way, folks, if you go to Google now, you got to love technology, Google Jimmy Sterling, At Least I Tried, you'll find those 12-inch vinyls. They're out there for sale. It's amazing, like eBay. You got your stuff out there, so it just shows how powerful that was.
Jimmy 100%
Sterling. Well, at that time, it was Jimmy Sterling, and we've got the 100% now because you have increased your worth, I guess you would say. How you say that, right?
I try harder.
I tried. At least I tried, right? No, I'm just kidding, man. But I tell you, coming up, you're out there. Art Stewart took you back in and actually re-recorded Marvin Gaye's song, Gotta Give It Up.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and it sounds so much like the Marvin's tune.
Well, what I did was we just kept the melody, and I put my little David Ruffin twist on it.
Right.
Art took me under his wing, and he was a fantastic producer. This guy. And he also produced with Rick James and Tina Marie.
Right. Because there's pictures, actually, Facebook page for you.
Yeah.
I've seen the picture with you and Rick James, and a lot of folks out there, man. Yeah. Just an incredible career. Well, then you've got to Louisiana now. You were signed to CDS Records, and Dylan signed you, I guess president of CDS Records, signed you to that. Yeah. And the At Least I Tried song, and Gotta Give It Up, I do believe, was on a compilation album that they put out. What it was from the
beach to the street to the club.
So I guess we're hitting the beach, the cities, and the clubs with the music that's going on. And we're sort of now that you're here in Charlotte, and this is what you're doing in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're here with Sir Jonathan Burton, who, as a matter of fact, right now has had several songs on the Southern Soul charts. There's one on there right now that he's got out. But he's producing some songs. You're redoing the At Least I Tried tune, but putting a whole album together. Can you give us some songs? What's going to be on the Jimmy Sterling?
Well, first of all, as from the resurgence of At Least I Tried,
right?
That's how the CD came about. So I'm doing a 10-song CD. Jonathan is a fantastic producer. I'm doing some Carl Marshall. This is Southern Soul.
Right.
I call it Southern Soul meets Motown.
Right.
And Carl Marshall, I got Garland Green. I'm covering a song that actually Dylan Deanna wrote for Garland Green, and I'm covering that, a Stan Mosley song. And of course, my idol, I'm doing two of David Ruffin's songs, Heavy Love and Statue Overflow. And another rendition of At Least I Tried.
Right. Cool deal. Well, I tell you, here we are. What else is going on that you can tell us before we bring Ken into this and take our break? What else is going on with Jimmy 100% Sterling right now? I know you got some shows coming up in Texas.
Yeah, I'm working. Well, after I leave here this week, then I'll go back to Louisiana, pick up my band, and then head to Houston, Texas.
And big show out there.
Big show there, Mother's Day weekend with some heavyweights.
And in the Southern Soul world.
Southern Soul world, yeah. Andre Lee, Bobby Rush, Will Easley, some of the big boys on this show.
Cool deal.
And then I'm leaving and going back to Louisiana for another show that it's going to be a pretty big event and I'm doing what you call my tribute to David Ruffin. That's part of my show now. When I do mainly the songs that David sang with the Temptations. Right. And so that's my tribute to him.
So you're giving it back somewhat, all where it started. You're sort of back to that.
And then I'm going back to Texas again, and I think I'll end up with a show with Billy Soul Bonds on that show. Then I want to go back to California.
Traveling man, busy man. I tell you, well, let's take a break. We're going to take a commercial pause. And coming up, we've got Ken Knox. We've talked about Ken, chairman of the board, how you guys met, back Detroit days. And I've learned some stories, and we're going to find out. I've learned some pretty good stories, folks. Some of them are too incriminating probably to let you guys know about. Well, we'll be back right after this. Make sure to visit our sister network, CBMZ, the Carolina Beach Music Zone, for what's going on in the Carolina beach music world. CBMZonline.com. Also join myself
and Anita
on the radio
for the best in Carolina beach music, adult contemporary hits, and Southern soul music.
You can find our affiliate stations on our website at grandstrandshow.com or find us on Facebook, Darin and Anita. Welcome back to SSZ, the Southern Soul Zone, and still here with Jimmy Sterling. Jimmy, welcome back. And we brought in the man over here, Ken Knox Company, KCO, chairman of the board. What have you done? What have you not done? That's the question. Because we're going to talk about how I got two guys on each side of me that has rekindled and hadn't seen each other since right now, actually, in what, 30-some years?
33 years.
33 years, and we talked a little bit before we went to the break with Jimmy and how you guys got to know each other when you became part of the chairman of the board, back on the Success album and all that, and then you and Ken hooked up. So I'm in the middle here. I'm going to be the mediator between these two guys. How did you guys' relationship come about? I know with the chairman of the board, but how did the songwriting thing that we talked about, how'd that happen?
Well, basically back in Detroit, Jimmy was in one of my favorite bands called Total Capacity. And we had rival bands, but what I liked about them is the fact that you had a drummer who was the lead singer. That was unheard of, except for Rare Earth.
So you played and was all at the same time?
Vocals, yeah.
Most times you had either a lead singer up there or the guitar player was singing. But with that band, you had a drummer that was singing and playing his butt off. And the only other comparison was Rare Earth. And so we hooked up. I think we even joined. Didn't we do some things?
Yeah.
We joined myself and Roland Christian, who played trumpet.
Yeah.
We joined Total Capacity.
Yeah.
And man, and the band was smoking, you know, talk of the town around Detroit.
I bet. Where you're in Detroit, and that period of time was
Music City.
Yes.
Music City. Now, after that, myself and Roland auditioned for chairman of the board through Danny Woods.
Okay.
Needless to say, it was we were instant hit with General Danny Harrison, myself, and Roland, and our band was the world-renowned Funkadelics. I don't know if you know about Funkadelics. Yeah. That was George Clinton and his gang.
And that was the band.
That was the band.
Wow.
So everywhere we went, all the artists from Blue Magic, from the OJs, from the Spinners will be backstage saying, wow, because you know, there was so much energy on that stage.
Yeah, Funkadelic, man.
and basically we were like a slide and the Family Stones. Basically, that's what it was like. So when we came off tour, I think Danny recruited you?
Danny introduced me to General. And well, actually I was back with Total Capacity again, just doing some local things around the city. Mm-hmm. And Danny came to get the band. And well, actually, you know what happened? General had gone solo, and then he came back to the group.
Okay.
And that's when I got into the group.
Okay, that's when we came to this market.
Right.
So, long story short, I know, you know, so in doing so, like Jimmy said, we toured for like 6-7 years in this market. He left. He had an opportunity to do something with a label in California, so he left. Now, we continued to tour. 33 years later, I received a phone call. I didn't believe the person on the end of the phone was who he said he was. So I said, no, this is not Jimmy Sterling. And I asked a few questions, and the guy answered the question. I said, man, where the hell you been? So anyway, long story short, Jimmy was saying, listen, man, you know, I would love to get back in the business. And I said, I got an idea. I said, I am talking with Dylan Deanna from CDS Records. And I said, I think I can get you on this label along with our group, KCO. So it was a beautiful marriage because Dylan loved what Jimmy was offering. Because you got someone who there's only been one David Ruffin, but this is David Ruffin Jr.
I got his DNA.
He's got his DNA.
I got his DNA.
So the marriage was great. Jimmy put out 2 songs on this. I think you mentioned it, From the Beach
To the Street to
to the
Club.
Streets to the Club. KCO put out 2 songs as well. So this has been a good marriage for all of us, and I'm so proud to say this boy is back, because I know in the back of his mind he never thought he would be back out here.
First time in how many?
33 years.
Right now on SSZ. This is happening right now because
So
you've only been
thanks
in
to
72
me-
hours.
Thanks to me.
I should pat Ken or him. Or
Thank you,
Dave.
Jimmy.
Oh, I
Thank
thought I'm
you.
supposed to pat him on the
Thank you,
back.
Jimmy.
Great one.
I don't know what's going on now.
Oh,
Have you
great.
noticed Ken is
I finally got it to bow down. But the thing is, you can't, when you have talent, you cannot.
hold it down?
You can't hold it down.
No.
And so, with this marriage with CDS Records, Jonathan Burton, and eventually KCO, because we're gonna do some things together as well. Because you can't beat this talent that we're all surrounded with.
Great combination.
And it's a great combination.
Detroit talent here.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's, well, Music City. I'm going back to that with both you guys, because knowing Ken for what I have and in getting to know you, the music, the knowledge, and what you guys have from Detroit because of Motown and Holland Dozier and Holland and all that was going on there in those times. You were touched by all that. I think, really, and when you get touched with being in that pot of music and talent up there, man, it's you just got it, and it's here right now. Before we get out of here, I want to bring up on that CD, the songs that you've got on there is you, and also a new track called the Carolina Shuffle, which for you, the Carolina Panthers here in Charlotte, North Carolina, debuted the song, and the Top Cats are doing it on the field, and
That's right.
It's just been an incredible time for you this past year.
I've been fortunate because I sat next to a genius, and I learned from this man, and when I didn't think I could do something,
Boom.
there it was. I mean,
It was in you already.
It was in me already, and I was able to bring it out. But long story short, I feel very fortunate to have the years that I did co-producing with General Johnson.
When we get together on the radio, we've got an SSZ and CBMZ, our sister network, Carolina Beach Music Zone, coming up with Ken Knox in the next little while. And I want to talk about, there's one of the things to bring this up real fast with you. It's sort of, General told me a story one time about how he learned in Detroit. And really, when you look at the big picture, and we'll get into it, it's the same exact way that it happened with you, with him. And we're going to talk about that on CBMZ. That'll be coming up in an episode pretty soon. Right now, though, Jimmy Sterling, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down after jet lag of being what? I think you left Wiz, had to lay over in Orlando.
Yesterday sometime.
And then here in Charlotte. Ken Knox, thank you so much for all your help and
I
everything.
got to say one thing.
and
Now,
we do.
I need for everybody to know about, we have an agency called Dream Entertainment. It consists of Edna Wright from Honeycomb and KCO and Jimmy 100% Sterling.
I work cheap.
Yeah, what entertainer works cheap? Wait a minute, where do we get that? Guys, again, thank you so much. Be staying tuned for more on SSZ, the Southern Soul Zone, right here for what's going on in the Southern Soul music world.
San Bernardino.
And don't forget our sister network too, CBMZ, the Carolina Beach Music Zone, for that arena of music, what's happening there as well. We'll see you next time.